welcome to Black Coffee Conversations. It's all things relationship. I'm Tanya.
And I'm Tiffany.
And I'm excited. I am so excited because we have a special guest to our show.
Yes, we do.
And that's not only because she is kind of the behind the scenes producer, right, for Black Coffee Conversations, but she brings a wealth of experience, healing, wisdom, self-growth, all of that. And so we are finally glad to have you in front of the camera today because she's got all the skills behind the camera. Now it's time to get in front of the camera.
Yes, and I think that for Black Coffee Conversations, I'm going to give you roses right now because you have helped us to pull this together.
Yes.
To connect dots in many different areas as we move through this journey. And I can't imagine you not being a part of this team.
Yes. And it's actually triple threat. It's triple T's, right? Tanya, Tiffany, and Terrica.
Yes.
So there is like no Black Coffee Conversations without Terrica.
And different generations represented somehow. She helps us with that, definitely.
Yes. Or do I make fun of you? Because she makes fun of us, right? The millennial. She's representing for you guys, let me tell you. Here.
Hey, y'all.
Oh, yes.
Come on into the community, y'all.
Yes, definitely. And one of the things that, we've always been talking about, especially for season 2, is, we really focused season 1 on relationships. We tapped into dating. But this season, we really wanted to talk about self-growth, self-healing. And thank you for that, because that's something that we all prayed about, talked about. And that's really what I want us to talk a little bit about today, because we ended the last episode talking about it always starts with self, right? Self-growth, self-reflection, all of that.
Terrica, so can you just tell us a little bit about who you are, where you are, and a little bit about your journey?
Yes.
Okay, well, in West Philadelphia, born and raised. No, I'm just kidding. No, I am what you call a unicorn. So born and raised Nashville. That's a rarity. Y'all know that now. People are not still here that were born and raised, but born and raised here. When you ask that question, it's so loaded, right?
Yeah.
But if you want to go professional, so I spent the first half of my career, it was nonprofit and went into like people management. Then I went into the tech world, and I was doing operations, but more so again, people management and development. And that's when I really was like, oh, this is like my thing, like supporting people, helping their growth. This is what I do. At the latter part of my time in the tech space, I was doing more engagement and advocacy, and then a layoff hit. And so I was laid off from that space. And so I started using my gifts and talents and started going back into the space of doing like media and assisting people with like content creation, things of that nature. And also I am a certified life coach. I have been for 10 plus years now. And so in that space, helping to be a guide to a lot of people. I don't like to say, I like to say that I'm just like an aid or an additional tool that people use or a resource. But yeah, leaning into that space as well. So I got a lot. I got a lot there.
Yeah.
I'm going to use some other synonyms. You are a guide.
Okay.
Yes.
You are a sister. You are a friend.
Yes.
You are a wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so we appreciate you, sister, in the community. So, yes.
So talk a little bit about, I guess, because you even have your own kind of podcast or coaching podcast. Talk a little bit about that, about what you do there.
So we're back now. We took a little bit of a break because life be life, but we know God be Godding.
Yes.
But it's bare unfiltered conversations. It's just real raw conversations. And like I said, I'm back now in a whole new way. As I said, life be life. And I've just had some life experiences happen in the last, I won't even just say a year or 2 years, but the last 5 years. And so I'm back to just have some really deep, in-depth, transparent conversations. And so I do have that, but I am like I said, a life coach. And so I'm really focused on helping people with that work of self-mastery. Like I say all the time, it is the greatest, most important journey that any of us will take.
Yes.
Nothing else will even equal up to it. It is what we're here to do, which is to learn to master ourselves and to identify the journey that we're on, and how to walk that path. So I'm a guide to help people walk through that. Like, a lot of people don't need you to like, everybody knows what they would like to do, right? But sometimes they need help with the pathway to get there. And so that's what essentially a life coach is.
And when you were on your path and your journey to becoming more healed, because I think you've recently come or are still navigating the waters of grief.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what has helped you get through that process and where you are.
Yeah, thank you for asking. So I think I was sharing with you off camera. A lot of people would automatically go to the grief around losing a spouse. That's the first place that they're going to go, because when we
And
talk,
you lost your spouse.
correct. He passed in August of last year. It was very sudden. It was not expected, and I won't say it wasn't expected. He had been diagnosed with congestive heart failure around the time COVID hit, maybe a year or two after that, or started not even a year or two, a year after that, when it like really hit. And he was young. He played professional sports. He had been healthy his entire life. Although they were very transparent around like the risk that would be associated with congestive heart failure. He was doing the right things, taking the medications, and then just unfortunately his heart was weakened, and he passed suddenly. And so that part of it was unexpected, because we didn't see that, right? But as I was saying, when we talk about grief, I think we hide our death because it's so permanent. Like, there's no coming back from it. But the last 5 years of my life have been a lot of like death and rebirth for me. And that's actually, as a coach, something that I have clients look into is their destiny chart. And it's slipping me right now, but it's like your life path number and your destiny chart, like the themes in your life, what you're going to learn. And a big theme of my life is death and rebirth. I'm going to face that so many times. And so the last 5 years has been a lot of like death of the old me into the new me, whether it was, we're being fully transparent here, right? So it has been, I experienced a layoff from a job that, I had so much success with. Like, first of all, I couldn't have planned that out perfectly. Like, it was just perfect. But that I was laid off from that career after I had made my name in that space. Also, after years of trying it my way and working out in the gym, I decided to do gastric bypass, which a lot of people don't know. A lot of people look at the physical change, but there's a lot of mental change that happens after that, because you no longer identify with the person that you created before, you were before. A lot of changes, not just people around you, but you change as well. Also, speaking of my spouse, we went through a separation.
And y'all have been together decades, right?
Yeah, I mean, and let me say this: I've been very like protective of this space, and I'll continue to do so. I'm just really big about like there's three sides to every story. His side, my side, and the truth. And then sometimes it ain't even just about the truth. It's just like this, like some stuff is just some stuff is just sacred and it ain't for everybody, right? However, I want to just be very transparent. So, he and I met at 15 through a mutual friend. We at that point, like, I remember, this is so funny. He knew very early on. He would like joke with me, and he would be like, "I love you," and I'd be like, "I love you with the love of the Lord." Like, that was like my response all the time.
I love that.
Yeah, I used to say that all the time. But seriously, like, we were friends. Like, that was my guy, and it was crazy how we became friends because our mutual friend happened to go to like juvenile, and so we couldn't talk to him because he's in juvenile. So we had to talk to each other, and we just built a friendship. And so we were just cool. We dated other people, all of that. But he was always like, I'm gonna marry you one day. I'm like, okay, you crazy. Who says that? But like, we just always friends, and he was a constant in my life. And so at some point, I think I had turned 21. He had come to my house, and he was like, "Look, you gonna give me a shot or not?" And at that point, I had just got out of a relationship, and I was like, "I'm not dating with no dudes my age. I'm not dealing with y'all." And he was like, "No, just give me a shot." And I was like, "Cool." So from 21, and then we got married at 20. I think we were 27, 28. So yeah, we have been together for quite some time. Yeah, and like I said, at the core of that was just friendship. Like that was my dude. That's my dog. Yeah, for sure. I think you were asking me a question, and I've lost track.
It's okay.
Oh, she was asking. Well,
Yeah.
you go ahead.
Well, I think that
Mhm.
where I was going with that is that you're on the other side of these big quantum leaps in your life. And I wanted to get back to what that feels like to have journeyed through and be where you are today.
Yeah. So you know, I think that's one of the things that people have to remember. Healing is it's not a quick thing. You may be doing it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Because the lessons will come back around again. Also, there is no like easy fix. There's no like somebody else could have gone through the same thing. So, for example, my mother has experienced both losing her son and losing her spouse. Now, they were divorced and it was years later, but that was still her high school sweetheart, the person that she had her first children with, like her kids with. So she knows what that's like. But the journey for her was much different. Why? Because for example, like I said, it was years later when her husband passed and they were no longer together. My mother had moved on and so did he. But then also when my brother passed, she had to continue to keep going because she had a 6-year-old to think about. She couldn't just give up, not keep going. And she tells me that all the time. My journey has been different because I don't, we didn't have any children. And he was so young, right? And so navigating through that is different. So I say that to say somebody else could go through what you go through and they can give you all the advice that can, but it is really, again, your journey to go through. Yeah. Just like we talked about the self-mastery journey, it is your journey. People can give you all the advice, you can pull tools and resources, but it is really your journey and how you come through it, right? So that's the first thing. Or first thing.
The one common thread, though, is we all experience pain.
For sure.
And I don't have to compare the level of my pain to the degree of anybody else's pain. The circumstances may be different, but it can hurt just as bad. And you have to carry it until that pain finishes teaching you what it came into your life to teach you. And then it will go away on its own.
And so I think when you ask me how I got through it, I'm continuing to go through it. It is an everyday process. I think though I was intentional into leaning into it.
Yes.
So, for example, when the layoff happened, I remember the day before, I remember talking to God aloud and I said, no matter what comes, I'm going to keep my eyes on you. Like I made a conscious decision that I was going to do that. It was rough, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, everything that I had built, what I knew, and everybody was like, oh, girl, you're going to bounce back quickly because you got this and that, and bounce back quickly didn't happen like that. You know, I had gone on a ton of interviews and things, tons of interviews and things like that, and it didn't happen in that way, and that's because God had other plans. But like, I had to navigate through that. I questioned like, am I really that good? Am I really, I questioned all of those things. And then with his passing, I put everybody else before myself at the very beginning. It was about everybody else. It was about getting things done for him and, all of those things. And I came secondary to that. And so it didn't really hit me until maybe the top part of this year. And I was like, oh yeah, you're really in it. Like you really in it. So I'm still navigating that space, but I'm being very intentional about leaning into it and not shying away from it. And being honest about like when someone asks me, how are you doing? I no longer say, oh, I'm good. I'll say today is a good day and I'm thankful for that. Like just being honest.
Because I was going to say too, I mean, just like, because I also the job transition and, life does life. But how has it been, especially with losing a spouse at your age, because you're in your 30s? I think sometimes when we get older, the older you get, you kind of expect things, health issues, but and there are and usually we have more support because other people have lost their spouse. Being at the age that you are, how is it getting support when maybe there may be other 30-year-olds that haven't experienced, that?
That's a good question.
It really is. Honestly, I am so thankful for like my family. I'm thankful for my village. You all are inclusive of that village because I've had support. My former church was supportive with grief share. So that was amazing. I had a therapist. I was actually ending therapy the week before he passed. And so it's crazy because one of the things my therapist and I were talking about was like, Terrica, if you don't start implementing certain things, like if you don't put it into practice, how do you know if you mastered it or not? And then here come the next week, all them things I had to start putting into practice. And it's funny how life works.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I've had support in that way, but I know what you mean. There are so many people that might experience it at my age and they don't have a village around them. Thankfully that hasn't been the case for me. But what has been, this is the flip side, what has been the thing for me is I'm a person that likes to, I can handle it. I'm good. I'm usually the person I can sort it out because I know what to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I know how to pray. I know how to, go within and search myself and work through this thing. Rick will teach you. Rick will teach you. You think you know and you think you got it, but sometimes you do need to just speak to someone else or let it out.
I know I do. Moment of honesty. I feel like grief brings out the worst in me. It turns me into a whole attitude having brat out here in the streets because I would just bang my fist and my feet.
Have a tantrum.
Like, why, God? I will have a whole tantrum. And it'll be a slow roll tantrum. It'll be like a little bit of a tantrum every day. But it just, I realize that about myself. Like, my energy just gets very why? Why can't I have it? Why is it gone? And I'd be mad for real.
But those are real emotions, and I think depending on how you were brought up or things like that, you're told to for example, I'll tell somebody in a minute, and being someone that was raised in the church, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to hear give it to Jesus right now. I'm not trying to hear praying away right now. I know to do those things, and I know that that's where I go, and I'm not taking that away. However, my pain is real, and I think a lot of people sometimes will do that because they don't know how to deal with it.
And they don't
know what to say.
Yeah.
They don't know how to deal with it.
And I'm sorry, these are real emotions, and I'm okay to vent. I'm okay to be mad. I'm okay to quit because I look at God like this is just me. Nobody else has to agree with this, but this is how I look at it. If this is my father, right, my parent, I ask my mom what I want. I go to her and I'm honest about what I need to say. Why would I not do the same in this thing? I'm supposed to just not say, no, that's not how this works, right? So, yeah, I think those feelings are real and I think they're honest. And I think more people need freedom to know.
I think I'm in that honest place with God.
Yeah.
I really do. And even though I feel like I want to grow and I want to be more in my spiritual maturity of how he would want me to, have the faith that I'm going to work this out, and have it every day and carry that grace. It's not graceful. I'm not graceful. I'm not graceful.
Right.
Yeah. And I realized that even within my family dynamic as a child, I was a little bratty. My mama dropped me off somewhere and I was mad about it. I was screaming until she came back. And I do that same thing with God. Because my mama would come back. And I expect God to relieve the tension or the anxiety. Come on, relieve it. And sometimes he wants you to carry that cross because it's teaching you something. So I'm like you, I'm leaning into it more now. If I kick and scream, I kick and scream. He knows who I am. But I want him to continue to apply whatever pressure is available for me to learn in this life.
And I think I want to say,
Please don't take my leg. Please.
No, I'm saying nothing like that. I was gonna say nobody's taking my leg like Big Mama. But no, seriously, I think
It's crazy.
I was gonna say bend from your arm, but it's really seems like nobody's taking my leg. But no, I think Also, you gotta remember
Sorry.
my first recollection, and I have a great memory. My mom will tell you, she's like, "Girl, how you remember that?" But no, my first recollection of life is death, because with Derek, which is my brother, with him passing so early in my life, I had to be aware of like life and like the realities of things. I had just turned 6. I turned 6 in February. He passed in March. Yeah. So like that reality and that realness of like, this is a real thing. I had to become emotionally aware at a very early age, and how to regulate and how to be what I needed to be to everybody in this space, because this life thing has happened. So with that being, and since then, I've lost, a best friend, the mutual friend that actually put us together. He passed. Yeah, and so that happened over 15 years ago now. But like, so you know what I'm saying? Like, that has been a theme, whether physically or spiritually or mentally. Like, that has been a theme.
Yeah.
But there's also been rebirth on the other side of it, right? I say all the time, and I won't go too far into it, but with my parents passing, I often think about like the person that it birthed, right? And the woman that I became. And I mean, I would much rather have him here, of course, but it birthed so much in me.
Absolutely.
Right.
It leaves blessings
Yeah,
behind.
yeah.
It really does.
And even the
Just,
control factor that we talked about, like that started then, because I'm like trying to regulate and learn and protect myself and all those type of things. And of course, we talked about it off camera. I had to learn in this season to let go of some of that control factor.
Yeah.
That ain't yours to earn. Not earn. So thank you. So yeah.
Do you ever, like, when you think about people that you've lost, sometimes when you're in pain, blame them?
The people.
Yeah.
like in
I just remember, like, a couple hard times in my or seasons in life, and my dad was gone, and I kind of blamed him that, I'm like, you didn't prepare me for this. You never told me this was going to happen. You didn't talk to me and tell me somebody was going to break my heart and step on it and throw it in the trash with the dirty diaper
That's all.
and the dead body.
Yeah. So I think I had a moment one time with my brother. I went out to the cemetery, and I'm not a cemetery person now. When C passed, I've gone out to the cemetery more times than ever. But I'm just not a cemetery person. I just don't believe that they're there and leave their spirits with me.
Yeah.
But it was one day I remember going out there and like yelling like, "You just left me! You just left me!" So I've had that moment. And then since C's passing, there's been times. There was one time that I went and I was like, well, "I don't know what you expect me to do. You just left me with all this mess, and you, what am I supposed to do?"
Yeah.
But then I had to quickly realize like, that's just a part of it. That's just like, yeah, it's just like, I'm okay to feel that way. Did I really believe that? No. Like, because when I think about it, it's almost like he knew. When I look back at previous conversations, when I look at like the way that he spoke about me to other people, about like, people have called me since then and I've been like a aid or wise counsel to them. And he's like, well, yeah, see what I always say, Terrica knows this, or call her this. It's like, so you knew I would be okay.
Yeah.
You knew I would be okay.
Yeah.
And I would think, I'm just curious too. I mean, I know that both of us have experienced the loss of our father, and that grief is to me very different than a spouse, but our mothers, because of course our mothers lost their husbands, so their grief was different than our grief. But anytime you're going through grief, not only do you have to deal, and this might be personal, but do you have to deal with you, but you have to deal with others and how they're grieving. And can you speak a little bit about how you've been able to navigate? Because you have been a person that's trying to be there for everyone else, but you've got your own grief and emotions that you have to deal with. How has that process been?
Interesting, because it's almost like, so I'll take you back first. We talked about different forms of grief, but like, I guess about 5-6 years ago, it was something that like one day I just woke up and I realized, okay, you're on a different path and a different journey. Like you have this assignment and this calling on your life. And it's going to take you some places. You're going to have to show up in some ways other people wouldn't. You're going to have to say some things that other people wouldn't. You're going to have to go against it. It's just in you.
For yourself.
For myself.
That's like you talking to you.
Yeah, it was like a conversation between myself, my higher self, and God. It was just like, hey.
I love my higher self.
Oh, yeah. It was just like, here, you're about to go on a journey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything is about to be shook up and changed. Like, nothing will look the same. And so I was already aware, like, the way that I hadn't fully accepted it because I think I was still in the people-pleasing stage and I still was in the space of, like, I wasn't fully embracing the I amness of who I was just yet. Like, in a lot of ways I was. Like, I was. But I was still concerned about the status quo of, like, well, this was how I was raised based on religion or social constructs. Like, I hadn't really, like, deconstructed that stuff. Over the next 5 years, that's when that work started happening. I started really digging into what is true to Terrica. Like, what serves me? What aligns with me? I started doing that work. So fast forward to the passing and then having to navigate through other people's emotions and them processing. I had to, it was almost like every little step I took, no pun intended, no joke on the bottom ground. But I had to hear my higher self and God. I had to like literally every day, my flesh couldn't get in the way because my flesh wanted to say this or respond like this or move like this or not control. It wanted to do all those things, but I had to say, it was like I had to keep calling myself back to my center and say, okay, don't do this, don't say that, move like this. It was all intentional. And it wasn't because I was trying to avoid potential confrontation or trying to avoid not facing it. It was what I was being directed to do because we always think like one thing, that's the sole purpose. It's always bigger things at work.
Yes.
You don't know what's at work that's greater than this one. We think that, okay, the death that's the lesson. You don't know if somebody's bloodline healing is connected to it. You don't know if...
Say more about that.
Oh.
Just say what that is. I mean, we know about generational curses, right?
Yeah.
We know that there are some predispositions or entities that we come into this world that are attached to our ancestral lineage. Right. To agreements that our ancestors entered into. Even whatever was going on in the life of our mother, some of that comes through the womb and our wiring. And so say more about the bloodline path or the awareness.
So, I mean, for me, what I go to and what I think about is, for example, when we meet people, we think we just meet people based off happenstance. Nothing, like, usually there's a connection there, there's an assignment for an appointed time with that connection. Because it either is showing you something, healing something, it's rectifying something, it's taking you to a new space, to the next place of your life or the next lesson. And so to me, you can't get stuck in the thing that has manifest. Like
The logistics.
or like, I can't get stuck at, okay, just the death and my feelings in that, because it's always something greater at work and more people that are being impacted. And I know for some people, they're like, well, you matter in this moment. I do matter, but I also am a person, and people don't know this, I was a philosophy major. So I believe in the greater good.
Yes.
Be about
Collective conscious.
be about yourself. Go get your help. But ultimately, the greater good is going to benefit by you doing this work and showing up the way you're showing up.
Yeah.
And you contribute to a bigger puzzle, a larger puzzle that you don't even know about, right?
Yes.
So to go back to your question, like, I was being directed by my higher self, by God, to show up in certain ways. And it was some days I had to just eat it. It was some days that I wanted to respond and act and be in a certain space, and I just couldn't. And at the time, the very beginning stages, it was like, I think I knew it, but I was like, okay, whatever. But then as the days went on, I was like, I get it. I understand. And then as months went on, I understood. I got it. And I was so thankful that I was able to navigate that space in those ways. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
No, it does, because, and I wish, I don't even know if I'm at my higher. I want to kind of be there at our higher self, our higher being, because especially when there's a death of a loved one, emotions are just.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Everyone.
immediately when he passed, I remember being there in the chaplain. So they come, they let me know my in-laws hadn't gotten there yet. And so it was so important for me to let them get there first and for us to talk. And then they, went outside, and then the chaplain comes and he says, hey, you want to go back there? And I said, okay. I immediately began to just pray over him. That was the first thing that I did, and I thank God for his life and all of that. And the chaplain looked at me. He was like, I ain't never seen nobody do that. Normally it's the other way around, but it was like I was being guided to do that. And then immediately, you mentioned emotions, but I mentioned in this part because immediately, like, the analytical, practical, logical side of me kicked in because I knew what was about to, like, I got to handle this, I got to do this. And that took a front row. And I also knew, because I had faced death before, right? So I knew emotions were going to be high. He passed suddenly, so it was like, I knew what was coming, and it just kind of clicked in me. Now, the thing that I look at it now is like, I didn't know when to cut it off, though. Because for so long, I was still trying to analyze this and trying to, understand, like, okay, now I understand the what and the why, and why was I there, and when this happened, and why did this, like, I was trying to connect all these dots.
How did your intuition kind of kick in to reset or recalibrate that energy?
Right.
You know what? I honestly think that I had to just be in the thick of it. Like, it was some days that, I had to let myself cry. I had to be in the bed. I had to just let myself feel, right? And have those moments. And then I think what happened, like, what really kicked in was like when it started to physically show up.
Yeah.
Like, my body could physically feel the stress and all of the anxiety. It was like in my chest. I had a hospital scare, and it was just like, okay, yeah, now this is manifesting in other ways. We got to do something because you can't avoid it, and you're not going to outrun it. So what are we going to do? So I had to then come back to myself and say, okay, yeah, you got to click that part off. You do that well. Yeah. You do that really good. But come back, and I think I told you, I told the both of you out, but something that I do and I put into practice for not only myself but clients as well is that destiny chart, your life path, and understanding all of that. And a part of my journey this time around is around going away from being so hypercritical, over analyzing everything, perfectionism, and leaning into free, like.
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah.
I was about to ask each of you,
Yes.
what's one lie that you tell yourself that you really need to just come into the truth to accept yourself fully? What's one lie that you tell yourself?
I'll let Ty go. And can I say this? I was going to say, yeah, mine is, I have to, the goal this time is to just let life take its course and not try to control what is happening and lean into it. So this entire thing has been me putting things into practice. I've had to really lean more into that space. And now today I can sit here, I'm in the best space of my like life because I finally just surrendered and embraced it, So, but I'll let Tanya go first because.
No, I mean, just even hearing you, and I'm not going to get emotional because I'm a very logical, analytical person. I'm very analytical. I'm very logical. I am a perfectionist.
Okay, that's all right. That's all right.
For me, I navigate, even though I feel like I'm very emotional. I'm a very emotional person, but I think coming out of a toxic marriage, and when you dealt with being abused and things like that, you do put a wall up because you have to push through. You have to continue with your career. So I think for me, that lie is, I'm okay. I can deal with it
Got
because
it.
I've always had to put that wall up and I have to keep going. I have to be strong for my kids. I have to be strong for me. I have to go continue on my career.
Yeah.
And I think I've told myself, be strong. You're good. I'm good. Tanya's good. Anyone that knows me
Yeah.
on my job, in any job I've been on, they're like, you are always positive.
Yeah.
You always have a smile on your face. And a lot of times I am happy. But some of those same times I was going through this toxic marriage and
Right.
coming in there with that same mask. So I've had to say, who are you? What is your authentic, who are you? Who are you?
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's okay to have those weak moments.
Yeah.
It's okay to not always smile and be happy because you're gonna have those days. So I think probably the biggest lie for me is I'm good and I've got control. And I do like to be in control of my emotions and my life. And so I know that's not it. Yes.
Please.
So my biggest lie, because I have this image of my higher self. She even has a name. Her name is Crystal.
Oh, Chris.
And her name is Crystal because my mom was gonna name me Crystal and decided on Tiffany, and I always felt like I knew her, whoever she is. Her name is Crystal. My lie is that I'm not yet perfect enough to be loved fully. Because even when I'm running on the treadmill, in my mind, I see Crystal. Crystal looks a certain way. She performs a certain way. She shows up in the world a certain way. And she does advise me, but I always feel like I'm not perfect enough to get what I want because I'm not her. I'm just Tiffany. Yeah. So it is more perfectionism. It's always striving to be another version of myself. And it's just like the carrot is never. And sometimes I'm not saying I don't feel great about who I am today and my accomplishments, but there's just a little bit of space of not enoughness. Like there's just a little bit of this vacant area here that I feel like if I just fill this up, then I'll have everything that I, ever imagined.
Yeah.
But it really does that lie keeps me from really facing myself fully. It is a form of a mask because I don't just look at my naked self and say, this is all good.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's a lie. And it keeps me from having to do that.
Wow. I think I can feel.
Next year, my hair gonna be down my back.
All right.
And this ass gonna be fat.
Okay. You heard it here first. On Black Coffee Conversation.
Gonna be snatched.
Thank you. I think I can relate to what Tanya is saying, like that perfectionism, and it's crazy because I was like, I don't think I'm a perfectionist. I think I don't think that, but it shows up in certain ways. The control, trying to analyze everything. If you really close to me, people will tell you all the time, like I'm already like when I connect with people, and it's really my gift and my curse because, and I've had to learn how to like balance it because I really, really believe in intimacy, and Bishop Walker has talked about it, into people to see them. Like I believe in like I connect these very intimate relationships with people, and like I will analyze to a T to understand why you think like that, why you move like this, what is it? I do that, but I do that to myself 10 times more, and it's like sometimes like you gotta stop. Like everything ain't gotta be a thing, and you overworking your brain. Everything ain't gotta be a thing. It just doesn't, and it's just too much. And and I think the lie that I have told myself is that that I'm not different, and I am. And I'm fully embracing that. I'm fully embracing that my call on my life. I'm fully embracing the fact that I was sent here to be a light. Period.
Yes.
So I'm gonna go through some things that people may not go through. I'm gonna have to show up in a way that some people won't have to show up. My journey is going to look different, and I try to shrink and try to. I wouldn't even say shrink. I try to like, yeah, and just and had to understand my path. That's not my path anymore. I'm somewhere else, and that's okay.
Sometimes you'll be fitting into your own family. I mean, like,
That's true.
Happy Thanksgiving, y'all.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, but I mean, and it's been a lot, and I don't even want to call it a lot. I think I just hadn't fully surrendered to it and embraced it, and was trying to make it look a certain way, and
Yeah.
trying to, because the practical side of me is like, I'm thinking, ain't no money in that, ain't no this and that. Like some stuff outranks the money. Some stuff outranks position and title. Your calling doesn't, and when you fully embrace things,
Yes.
everything else will flow to you. That's because
Sure will.
you're in the right space.
Because God is not a capitalist. I
No.
mean, he's really not. He will give you everything.
Yes.
But he clearly said, seek ye first the kingdom
right.
of God. He didn't say seek the next bag or just paper chase. I mean, that's just, I think that's our culture.
That's all you see on social media. I mean, that's everything that you see.
And we
Everything.
live by comparison to what other people have.
And I think mine was more or less like, because what's important to me now, it used to be like, it used to, people ask me, what do you want? And I'll name specific things, right? Like the type of car or the type of place or things like that. No, what's important to me now is peace, freedom, stability, substance in this life. Anything that's going to cost or risk me not having those things, I don't want. I don't want it. So
Exactly.
I might, because me saying that I want, and we've talked about this, somebody saying they want $1 million. Okay, but what you going to have to do to get and keep that $1 million, is it going to risk your peace? Okay, let's not do that. And I'm not saying I want it. What I'm saying is those things are more important to me, and I want anything attached to those things. Hope that makes sense.
It does. It does. What's one thing that you tell yourself every day that has not quite yet manifested or materialized, but you know that it's for you? You know that you are that.
That's an interesting question.
What's the turn up? What's the turn up that you give yourself?
I think it piggybacks off what we just talked about, that I'm
It does.
fully embracing and walking in this space. Like I'm creating my own world. Like I have, like seriously, I don't subscribe to what was set up to me by, social, or economics or religious. Like I am a co-creator with God, and I'm making up my life the way that I want it.
Yes.
I'm almost there where I have fully embraced that. But like, that is the highest version of myself when I really like fully embrace that. Like, no, like that doesn't work for me. That don't make sense for me. Oh, it makes sense for y'all. Okay, that's cute and that's good, but it doesn't for me, and that's okay. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the next phase of me, just like fully being in that and not caring, not thinking about stuff after I do it. Like, oh, but who is it? Like, no, fully being able to do it, release it, let it go, let it be what it is. It was in that moment, and keep it moving.
Yeah.
That's maturity too. I mean, that takes a while for all of us, I think, to get there, because I think, in a sense, there are a lot of people that are people pleasers. I was too. That's something that I've struggled with. But getting to that point of not caring, truly not caring about what anyone else thinks. You are thinking of your self-growth and your fullness and who you are. But it's tough for some people to get there. I mean, heck, I'm 55, and it soon, not yet. No one age, just a couple of months away.
Right.
But really being at that place where you can truly say, I don't know how many people can truly say, and maybe you're there. And people get, that's what age has. Age is nothing but a number, right? But
I'm gonna say I'm there.
Right, make sure.
That is your journey for me. Like that is what I stand on. Even when people I used to be a red pill, blue pill friend. When people would ask my advice, I would say, this is what I would do. Red pill, blue pill, you make the decision. I don't like to do that to people. Like, it should be there. However, I'm now the person, I may not tell you, girl, leave this situation or do this, because I don't know what lesson is tied to that. And who am I to tell you? Like, I don't know
What your journey is, or
yeah,
what you should.
I don't know to put you in harm.
Yeah.
Like, if it's something that's detrimental, like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, yeah, I'll say, hey, but no,
Yeah.
I'm not as quick to tell people to navigate, because it has to be, again, it has to be personal to them, because if they don't do it based on wanting to do it, it may not last, or then they might be upset that they did it. So it's like, I'm just at the place now where I am co-creating the life that I want. And I'm continuing to do so, taking each part of my life and saying, what rings true with Terrica? I think I said this to a friend girl of mine. I said, it feels like in your 20s, because you don't know nothing, right? You just taking all the stuff that you were taught and that you learned, and you're putting it into practice.
Right.
And then something happens at 30 when you're like, this don't really, this don't feel right. So you spend the early half of your 30s kind of reconstructing and filtering and saying, this works, this doesn't work. And then latter 30s is feeling like I'm about to put the new stuff in practice and see if it's true. And then I'm like, am I going to do it all over again at 40, right? So it's like, we're constantly
Evolving. Yeah. No, no.
Check in your life.
Here we go.
But like, for real, like, I'm just at the place, if I could, I'm fully, or trying to get to the point where I understand this is my show, my journey, and this is what I'm encouraging other people to do. Like, this, you create this thing based on what you believe, based on what your standards are, based on what your moral compass is, not somebody else's moral compass. What is your moral compass?
Yeah.
What is your guide? And that's how you create your own life. So,
And it takes being vulnerable and honest with yourself, which sometimes is very hard to do.
yeah, I think
Vulnerability is hard.
it's
for
very,
a lot of people.
very difficult.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I think I said it at the beginning, and like, I don't want to spend too much time there, but like, even the separation between he and I, that was hard. Like, that was difficult, because this is my friend. Like, this is my dog. But I knew that there were things that, were no longer serving me or serving him. It wasn't honoring my higher self or his higher self. And I'm not. Don't let your mind tell you a story, viewers. What I'm saying is that even in assignment, like, we've talked about this, the vows that people love to recite out of the Bible is like, till death do us part. To me, death is not always just physical. It is also when there is no fruit being born. Things are dead, and they're not moving. There's stagnation to growth. And sometimes, Gladys Knight said it the best. Neither one of us wants to be the first to say goodbye, and that can reign true. And it's easy to stay where you're comfortable, what you know, what you're familiar. And it was just at a point where it was like, okay, something is changing, and we will forever be connected, but maybe in a different space. And this is where unconditional love comes in. And I would always tell him, the conditions may change, but my love for you never will. And who knows? Because we were at a place, we were kicking it and still hanging and there for each other. Like, that never changed, right? We just title shifted, things like that. And but again, and like I said, we were still married, but like, just the seasons had changed, right? And we had an understanding of what that was, right? And where we were. And as I was able to explain to him the journey and where I was, and he was doing his own work as well, it made sense, right?
Yeah.
It made sense.
So after a huge season together, what does it feel like to be back out in these dating streets?
Baby, ain't nobody in those streets. Ain't nobody in those streets.
What does it feel like to be outside in the grass?
I'm for the sheets. And let's be clear, when I say in the sheets, my sheets.
Sheets and mild days. Exactly.
Yeah. No, I think so much, even before, like, I had a boyfriend or whatever. But I honestly, I've never quote unquote dated in the sense because I've been with someone on the side. I'm not dated.
So you haven't experienced that yet. Would you be open to it?
Okay, I'm gonna PR you and move.
Okay.
No, but
I mean,
it will get
Yeah.
to that point, I'm sure,
Yeah.
and I know when it's time, it will happen, right? Right now, what is important to me is to make sure that I'm doing my work, and at some point, that work will include someone else, I'm sure, because again, I got to put some of these lessons into practice, things that I've been working on. So that will include someone else, I'm sure. But right now, I think it is about me and in this new space of like, who am I now, right?
Okay.
Past the job, past the, him passing, past all these things. Like, who am I now in defining that and just,
I think I want to know your perspective as a millennial, what you see your cohort and what's out there and available, what's happening in this space because you haven't been in it. What do you see?
them people say, it's pee in the pool. That's what they say. I mean, honestly,
Why do we say that? I mean,
That's the feeling.
That's what
That's what they're experiencing. I know. Yeah.
see, like, what are we
I don't
saying?
know. I just want people to go. Again, this goes back to what I was just saying. I want people to. They're like, we have resources and tools like therapists, podcasts.
Yes.
Things are there. I want people to get to a space where they learn to chew the meat and spit out the bone.
Yes.
But you got to do the work to identify what works for you. I think some of the problem, this is just my personal opinion, everybody's looking to someone else for the answers of what they should do.
Yes.
Of what and what fits them and what this is what a relationship should be. That's why we got all these crazy arguments
Well,
about
our appetite has changed to these small little sound bites of information. And it's coming at us fast and furious. And we just kind of take that and make a whole meal out of it.
Yeah.
And it was never meant to nourish us. I mean,
life is about what you can apply to. That's right. Life is
I think
about
we're all dopamine
You
addicts.
think so?
Yes.
I mean, I think it's about the life you live, and I don't think you live by just sitting there watching and taking what somebody else is doing.
Exactly.
You don't,
You don't live that way.
you don't process that way either.
Nah, and so I just think that it's
True, that's true. Part.
yeah. But that's no, seriously. I think that's I can't say that's the whole reason. But I see so many people like, what is everybody else doing? What is everybody else's thought? And it's like, no, it's really about what honors you, what serves you, what works for you.
Exactly.
Do you maybe you don't believe in marriage? Okay, that's fine. But what works for you? Go identify that for yourself and then get to the point where you don't care what somebody else thinks because that doesn't serve you.
Right.
But I think it's still in that wanting to please. Yeah.
Yeah.
And not doing that work. And then, because it's a lonely path.
It is.
Is that demonic? Like, what is that?
I don't want to call it demonic. I just think we people. We're complex. We're not one dimensional. We're 3D.
But it seems like a sickness. Like a COVID was somewhat of the epidemic. When you see something happening across a cohort or within a generation, it's almost like some spirit has been released over that generation. Why are we all choosing that low vibrational type of lifestyle?
I don't really know because I mean, I can't, that part I can't answer, but I
don't think everybody is, but I mean, I think that's what's being pushed out. I mean, it's out there. Yeah. I mean, it's just, we're in that social media era. I mean, that's all we see. Just like you said, I mean, it's all about sound bites. I mean, people know you can't put out anything, more than 60 seconds or everybody's attention is gone. So everybody's looking for quick fixes, quick money. But then there are some that, just like you said, we're taking in what we can, but then am I taking it in? Am I listening? And am I applying that to get better? That's the And that's why I say, even though sometimes our podcast, maybe it's not as entertaining, maybe we're not, putting all this drastic, this big, attention getter, I don't know, what I'm saying, that draws people in, but it's all about helping people to get better, and with that being said, I believe just even listening to you, and I'm glad that you're getting back out there on your podcast, because I think you have so much to give to viewers
Yes.
that need to hear that, because you have so in terms of self-growth, healing, grief, all of that. I mean, not even just with the passing of your spouse, but even just your job. You know, you talk about your younger brother, just the different deaths that you've experienced. Can you tell the viewers how they can follow you on social media?
Yeah.
So that they can do that.
Absolutely. You can follow me on Instagram. It's just simply T_Erica. Also, you can visit my website, www.terricajackson.com. That's if you want to get in contact with me for any of my services. Also, I am on TikTok as well. It is Coach Terrica. You can follow me there. But yeah, I will be out more trying to just do my work. I'm still like, I don't want to come off as if I'm complete or that I know all the answers.
So you're in purpose.
Yes, I'm living in purpose on purpose, and that is what I say every single day. And we didn't get into it, but we talked about the deaths and things like that. But even with the bypass that I had, and I was very secretive about that, not because I was trying to hide it, but it was like a personal journey. Something you do before it is you go through like a therapy session, and they talk about it because people don't realize the mental part of it. I mean, it really rewires your entire system.
Wow.
And also, I didn't get it because I couldn't. I had PCOS, and anybody that has PCOS, they know the struggles that come with, managing your weight. And I've always danced. I've always been athletic. I've always been active. Nothing was wrong, and I just wanted to beat certain things to the punch. But anyways, having that surgery, like the identity part, because so much was attached to me, Terrica being the bigger girl. Like I had to, I had to learn, like, you're not gonna out joke me, you're not gonna out dance me, you're not gonna out this or that, because those things had become me because of the weight. You're trying to find something else
To stand out. Yes.
Exactly. And I think even that birthed me being like the voice of the people, like during high school, like I was in the student government association, but it had become my thing, right? But I didn't know it was setting me up for my calling, like what I was supposed to be doing. But the thing was, when I lost the weight, yeah, for sure. When the weight started coming off, I noticed, I was like, oh, you had put a lot of these things in place unconsciously as like defense mechanisms, and created this life. And do these things reign true with you? So as I was doing my work around what still resonates or what is true with Terrica, that was a part of it as well. And I had to grieve her because I liked her. Her had got me to where I was.
Exactly.
And she was dope. And and she had done so much, and she got me there. She protected me, but a lot of her was like the pain, the childhood pain, the things that, I was like, I had to figure out how to be strong, because when you get bullied, you got to figure out something else, and so I had to work through all of that. So yeah, I wanted to share that because we are constantly doing our work. There will be something else that I'll face tomorrow, next week, another, and I'll have to put these things into practice. You don't learn something and then that's it.
Right.
It's an everyday
Constantly.
intentionality.
Yes.
Every day. Every single day.
We have I'm so excited that you join us in front of the camera. Yeah, of course. So we're going to have you in front of the camera more. So you know what I always say, like, share, subscribe, and join us next time for Black Coffee Conversations.